Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today on Fairground Friday we're going to be looking at battery boxes and how to incorporate them into the fairground and, well, hide them. Now, running a Lego channel on YouTube means that I get quite a lot of questions, and several questions recur a lot. So I thought I'd address a few of those today. One of the ones that's not fairground related is what I'm going to do when the Lego room is full. Well, I don't think it'll ever be fully full. I'll be always going round and going back and improving things and adding things in gaps and having, facades across areas where there aren't and everything else. So I think we're a very long way off that, even though it might feel like the room is quite full as it stands. So don't worry on that account. But two that I get quite a lot on the fairground specifically are whether I will be running more than one ride of one battery box. And I think the simple answer to that is just to show you these three rides all going off the same battery box. And this ride we've done on its own video already. This is my Venus fly drop, and I've already got the suggestion for the double stage drop incorporated, and I think you'll agree that looks really good. Anyway, I'll turn those off now because they are quite noisy. And the second one is where and how I'm going to hide my battery boxes, because this is relatively ugly and quite a big thing to hide. So I actually use Power Functions battery boxes, and that's for a number of reasons really. Firstly, because, well, they were the only thing available when I started collecting all of the bits for the fairground. Secondly, because they're stackable. As you just saw, I had three rides all stacked onto this one motor, and if I had powered up, I'd only be able to have two, and they'd be on separate channels, and I'd need a phone, which I'm videoing on, to control them, and they'd be controlled separately, so it's not as convenient at all. And also because this particular battery box is the rechargeable kind, which was available, but sadly not anymore, which is really fantastic. So I can just use this little socket here to plug it into the wall and give it a recharge when it's running low. So I find that the most economical, means I don't have to fiddle around with small batteries and replacing them and so on, even if they were just rechargeable ones. And it's my much preferred strategy. But as for hiding the boxes themselves, they are quite tall. And a lot of the questions that I get are actually, why didn't I make my cavity a bit deeper so I could hide the battery boxes in there as well? And it's really for the main reason that I want to be able to recharge them quite easily. And I want to be able to turn them on and off quite easily. So I can't bury them, say, right underneath this ride, for example, because I won't be able to get at them. Both for recharging and turning on and off. So even though there are certain areas, perhaps like underneath this Ferris wheel, that are deep enough to take a battery, I don't want them there because they might be really hard to reach later when we've got loads of obstacles in the way, definitely with a power cable for recharging. And also, once I've bricked them in, like I say, it'll be even more difficult. So I figure I want them above ground. And the way that I'm going to do them above ground is to hide them. And I don't mean just by putting something in the way of them, something in front. I mean, that would be one way of doing it, of course. But the whole point of this entire setup with its sort of false floor and so on is to hide all of the electric gizmos. So I want to do something quite ingenious. And a few suggestions have been to use power trucks. And I must confess, that is a good idea, but I'd never even considered it because I didn't really know that such a thing existed. And what a power truck is, well, a real life truck. That's got a generator on the back of it, and it would be used to power a real life ride. So why not do a Lego version of that? And I could, but to be honest, they're pretty ugly. They're just great big blank trucks because they're just full of equipment that you would, then wire into your real life electric rides. So although that is realism in effect, it's not the best idea, I think. I think I can do better. So I have come up with my own little solution. So a past vehicle of the week that I'm going to have to borrow for today is this lovely camper van from 2009, set 7639. Lovely. And incidentally, I have taken your idea to change the frog eyes and the tiger eyes background. so that more accurately represents the real life animals, and I think that is a slight improvement, so thanks for that. Now, you've probably already guessed my solution for hiding these battery boxes in plain sight in the fairground, because, well, I've already grabbed this bad boy, and you've already seen the thumbnail for this video and its title, which always, I think, spoils any surprise in a video, but I guess there's no way around it, otherwise you wouldn't click on it to watch it. But hey-ho, yes, it is to put these battery boxes in these recreational vehicles. And I think as long as I've only got one wire on the top, it'll fit absolutely fine. And that doesn't mean I can't stack them, of course, because I can have one wire going from here under the ground into the cavity underneath my fairground, and then have all of the power to several rides all being stacked at a block there. So that's what makes this system very versatile indeed. And the reason why I've chosen to use caravans and motor homes or camper vans in my city rather than using power trucks or just hard wiring it all hidden under the ground is because my fairground is a travelling fair. So that's the sort of fair in Europe that would be in a city like Nottingham for a couple of weeks. And after it had taken all the money it possibly could out of the local population, it would pack everything up and move on to another city, leaving the recreation grounds sort of an alternative use, or maybe the farmer's fields back to his use. So yeah, go on somewhere else. Probably not Brick Derby because, well, obvious reasons really. But yeah, it set up again and repeat the process, and probably come back to Brick Nottingham at exactly the same time the following year. So I think that better represents a travelling fair, having lots of these around, and I can kind of use them in dead spots where I've got, say, two rides back to back. I can kind of just sandwich one of these in between the middle of them, and it really not look out of place at all, whilst not taking up too much space. And that reason is the reason why I don't also have rides like the latest Haunted House vertical drop ride, because that's bricks and mortar. It's very much built into a real life building, and you definitely couldn't put that on the back of a truck and take it to another city. So fortunately, Lego have been making an absolute load of both camper vans and caravans over the years. Just the city ones alone, they've actually made 6 of them in various sort of guises over the last 13 years. So that's pretty much one every 2 years. And that's for the 6 wide ones, which I think are absolutely appropriate for me because, well, just because of their scale, you can see why I think it's going to work. We've got a 4 wide battery box that's 8 studs long, and these two should both be able to accommodate it relatively easily as long as these mudguards don't get in the way. Now, there are other great big and more detailed caravans and so on, with lines like Creator and Friends and so on, like 31108 Caravan Family Holiday from 2020. And they've got more detailed insides and nice awnings on the outside and things like that. But they're just going to be a waste of space in my fairground. I don't want to have some great big thing that's this big, like the big motorhome one that was another Creator set recently, when I could have one of these and a ride in exactly the same space. So I'll stick to the 6 wides. Also, the older 4 wide caravans like 6694 Car with Camper from 1984 are, well, too narrow to take one of these, quite frankly, so they are much less useful, although very cute indeed. So yeah, I've got a load of donor vehicles to choose from, because I actually have 5 of those 6 sets that I mentioned from the past 13 years. The only one I don't have is the very recent one, which is 60283 Holiday Camper Van from 2021, and that's the one with the stag sticker on the outside instead of the palm or the seagull there. So you can get that one very easily if you want to do something similar. But I think the best way of trying to incorporate one of these into one of these is to use Lego Digital Designer or your preferred digital tool. And that's just because rather than dismantling this entirely and pulling things out and then trying to squeeze this in and rebuild it again. I think it's a lot easier digitally because you can kind of lift off whole sections as one, and you can kind of undo, which is always useful. And you can take things out from the inside without even altering the outside. And just that flexibility makes it unparalleled. So I'm going to suggest we go into Lego Digital Designer for the next stage, look at some of these builds that I've put into the program, and then we can develop them from that starting point. And for those of you who want to do something like Lego Digital Designer who haven't done it themselves, I'd suggest you go to bricklink.com and download their free program Studio instead, which is just more modern. It's got all the more modern pieces. And it's a better place to start because LDD isn't supported anymore, and I just use it because I'm way faster on it just for historic reasons. So let's go into the program and start getting one of these into one of these. All right, so here we are in Lego Digital Designer, and I've already put in the 5 vehicles that are part of my Lego collection, which are actually 5 of the 6 of the recent releases in the last 13 years that I mentioned. We've already looked at the lime camper van with the palm tree on the front, and we've already looked at the caravan with the dark red detailing and the seagull on the front. The other ones are this great big huge one that I may not use just on account of it being, well, a bit too large, I think, for my fairground, which is 60182 Pickup and Caravan from 2018. And that's got a mountain on the side and blue detailing. And these two, which I really like, this one with the canoe on the roof, and that is the camper van 60057 from 2014. And that's got the green and dark tan and a swoosh on the side. And then this other green one, which is a really cute caravan, which is from Van and Caravan 60117 from 2016. And that's kind of got a trees sort of motif on the outside. So Lego's clearly sort of hitting the same theme again and again, but that's fine by me because I really like the variety. So what I'm going to do is obviously try and fit one of these into a few of these vehicles. And I also need to remember to leave enough space for the cable, of course, that needs to connect with the top of the battery box. There's no point in having the roof right skimming the top of this battery box because it just won't be enough. So I'm actually going to start with the biggest challenge first and actually start with the smallest. So I'm going to start with the really cute little caravan here. And what I'm going to do first of all is actually change its dark green stripe all the way around to black, and that's just to differentiate it from the other one there, because it's also dark green, this one over here with the canoe on the top. So there we go, there's our starting one. I'll take a copy of this as well so I know what I'm trying to fit in. Now this is the wonder of using digital programs. You can just lop the whole roof off in one go and start deleting the insides. And if I do something I don't want to do, obviously I can just hit undo. But I'm going to just delete all of the regular contents of the inside there. And that does mean I'm starting to make some holes in the walls, so I'll try and repair those where I see them. But I can fill in all the other gaps later on to make it look nice. But there you go, so far so easy. So let's try and put our battery box in there, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's see if we can fit the roof on, and well, we can't. It's too near the surface, so there definitely isn't room enough for that cable, so we're going to have to go deeper. Now the problem with this is these mud guards, so I think they're going to have to go, or fenders if you're American, so I will delete those. And although that's a slight, backward step, I don't think it's so bad because caravans can be quite ugly already. So I don't think that really ruins it if you look at the original where we started. But I need to go further, and I need to remove these 2x2 inverted slopes as well to create more space. But that does look ugly. So what I'll need to replace those with is the same brick, but just half the width, 1x2 ones. And if I put those on the outside, we'll be none the wiser. So there we go. So that's so far so good. Then I need the great big supporting brick to go and get rid of these yellow ones as well. And then we've gone right to the bottom of that vehicle. So if I get my battery box now and try and put that in, you can see it's a lot lower down. And that means that the roof, I'm presuming, should be able to fit right on top. And it does. So next I need to get my cable, so I'll get a copy of one of those as well, and put that on. And can I still get in there? I think I might have to delete just that bit there. There we go. So that all fits in. And if we just remove some of the roof, we can see, yeah, it's pretty close, but it does fit, and that's good. So the battery box can fit in there, and that saved me a lot of effort in just a few moments of clicking with my mouse rather than having pieces strewn across my building desk. Now the question is there still room for this cable to get out of this caravan? So we can see if I put it this way round, it goes down into this kind of cavity right at the front in the sleeping quarters. So all I need to do is create kind of a hole in the bottom for the wire to get out. And I figure the most sort of discreet bit might be just to remove that brick and maybe replace it with, say, a 1x2 instead of a 2x2 in there. And that would leave me enough space to get a cable out. And then all we would see in the Lego room would be a small piece of cable going from about here at the front into a corresponding kind of hole in the floor, sort of say there. And I think that would be perfectly allowable. And then the second stage, of course, is to make this easy to turn on and off and easy to recharge. So one good thing is that these caravans do already have hinge bricks in, so we can actually use those and actually turn whole bits of the caravan around. It's not going to work here. I think it's because I've got the two bits joined together. Hold on, let's see if I can sort that out. There we go. So I can kind of hinge out whole sections as they are with minimal variation. But in addition, I want to incorporate a switch to power this, much like we would on a power functions train. So what I'm going to do is grab this gizmo I made earlier and make something like this. So that'll be an alternative piece of roof that will sort of fit on and dovetail with the rest. Obviously I'll have to change this side, and that will have a little button on the underside, so when I actually push this with my human finger, it will actually press through and turn on the actual switch, which you can see under there, and turn on the whole thing. And I won't be able to see the light, but that won't matter because all the rides will be whizzing around, so I'll know it's on, and when the rides aren't whizzing around, well, I'll know it's off, won't I? And then I think the final piece of the puzzle is inspired by this set over here with its very small satellite dish, which I think looks wonderful. I think I'm going to do the same for each of my traveller caravans and add my very own little satellite dish set up on the top. So it looks like the occupants inside have got cable or satellite TV. Cool. Well, probably not cable TV, but you know what I mean. Right, back to real life, and here is the finished article. I've gone a lot further than I did in Lego Digital Designer, and I've plugged in all of the gaps and tidied up the roof and put in the switch solution and all the rest of it. And this is the finished article. But it is generally the same as we just roughed up there, and the fact that I've got the cable coming out of this small hole underneath the tow bar. And that means when it's in place in the fairground, you'll probably see about that much of the cable if you look very carefully, and even that can be bent underneath the front. Above ground. So I think that'll look really good and really subtle, and especially from a different angle, you're really not going to see anything at all. Furthermore, I think the absence of the mudguards or fenders doesn't really detract from it too much at all. And the fact that you can kind of only see through the window into the side of a battery box really doesn't matter either, because kind of any oblique angle, they kind of look dark anyway, and there's not much to see on the inside of one of these things anyway. So yeah, I think that's really good. So I've got a 50 centimeter long extension cable coming out of there, so that's 8871, and I do actually have some 20 centimeter long ones as well. This might be a bit too long in this case, that's 8886. Fortunately, I knew all this was coming, of course, the building of my fairground, so I got plenty of each way ahead of them discontinuing power functions. So I'm all right on that front, though it's a real shame that they aren't available for others to keep buying them. But as for the rest of it, yeah, I said I'd filled in all of the gaps. There is our little satellite dish, so they can all watch their TV inside the caravan. And here is the way that you turn it on and off. It's using the same technique as I showed you there with the Lego train sort of setup, and it's just as simple as that on, that off. I mean, you really wouldn't know, would you? It's incredibly subtle, and just a scene that you'd expect to see in a fairground, of course. And then to get inside, I just remove this modified plate, put it on there for safety, and you can open the two sides of it just like you would as the play feature of the original set. And that enables me to take off this kind of button setup, and at that point I can even close it back up if I want to, and that gives us access to the recharging hole, very simply, and any of the electrical gubbins should we need to. And there's obviously the other end of that cable going into that front cavity. So if I pop that straight in place, maybe we'd just charge the battery or something like that, and then we get a ride, or in this case a carnival game to demonstrate the powering, then essentially I can just join up these two, which would all be hidden in the underground cavity, of course, with only the caravan itself and the carnival game above the surface of the ground. And that would look very innocuous, just sort of in the background near a game such as this. And then just by pressing the discrete button on the top, there we go. It could be powering this and several rides. So I think my entire fairground can probably be powered by a very small number of these things with battery boxes in. But what could be more subtle or more in keeping than one of these? And I think it's a real feature rather than a problem to have these power boxes throughout the fairground. So I'm really impressed with my own idea, really. Maybe it was quite obvious to some, but I think the execution has really made it a success. Right, so I'll stop patting myself on the back for a moment, and maybe we should get on with doing a second one in a camper van this time. Right, so back into Lego Digital Designer, I'm going to take a copy of the camper van and the gubbins that we want to get inside it to one side. Now, I don't think we probably want the boat on top when it comes to actually placing it in the fairground, but I do quite like it. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I kind of like it. Traveling people might want a boat as well. Why not? Anyway, what I'll do here is take off the entire top section, just as we did before. And this is a bit harder to do in a way, because this does have a very solid plate layer by way of these dark tan plates as part of its setup. So that does get in the way. So we really have to go deep into this section to accommodate the battery box. So I'll delete the insides as I did before. But what I don't want to do on this one, because of this extra headspace, is delete the back fenders, because I think it will be a lot more ugly if I do. More ugly than when I took them off the Caravan before. So what I'm going to do now is just put that in on that level and see that it is actually level with this top at the moment. But I think I can go into this quite deep roof to accommodate the wiring and so on. So if I pop this all back on but without those two dark tan plates in, you'll see that it actually does fit. And if we remove the boat temporarily and whatever that piece of stuff is, we've actually even got a built-in flap in here. Now this flap in the original was so you could kind of get at a storage area that was built into the roof that would have the paddles for the boat and life jackets and stuff like that. But if I just remove that temporarily, you'll see, wow, there is the power button. That's the one we need to press with our finger. So why not just access it through that hatch? So the only thing we really need to do, putting all that back on, is actually not put in these dark tan plates. And we can get around that by putting in some much more narrow ones, sort of one by whatevers, around the kind of area we need to poke our finger through. And we can probably put the front one in, because that won't get in the way. Yeah, so that one's fine. So we just need some alternate plates here. And then it's really, really simple. So, job done. All right, so here we are back in real life, just in case you couldn't tell. And here is our real life camper van with the squiggles on the sides and the boat on the roof. And, well, can you tell if it's already been converted or not? I suppose you're trying to peer through the window now and see if you can see a battery box. And you probably can, because it has been converted. When I bring it into shot a bit more, you can see this camper van actually does have a tail. And the method I've used to extract the wire this time from right underneath the middle of the vehicle is the same as we did, well, sort of in this one, in that we've removed a 2x2 inverted slope, with replace it with a 1x2 inverted slope, which leaves a gap, and that just enables the cable to come out. So if that were to vanish through a hole directly underneath the camper van, well, how on earth would you be able to tell at all? So this one is even more subtle. I've added on another satellite dish because I just think they're really cool and really fun, and I have kept the boat on for now. So this one is even more ingenious than in my design in LDD, because to turn it on, we don't have to open the flap to press the button with our fat fingers. No, we can just press the boat. On, off. Simple as that, because this trapdoor does move a little bit. So let me show you what I've done. Just take that off temporarily. So this is our hatch that can open, and just so it connects with the button, I've got this sort of construct on the underside, which is just some 2x2 round bricks plates and one of those sort of shoe pieces, and that lines up with the button there. So all it's doing is just pressing that on and off. So I like that even better because it's even more hidden. And yes, again, you can't see the light being on or off either, but you'll know that from whether the ride is spinning. So if we have this here and bring back our carnival game, not that I really need to demonstrate it because you can pretty much imagine what's going to happen again, but I just press the boat and I can power several rides, and it's even more subtle. I'm really liking these. I think this could be one of my best ideas. So there we go, one caravan and one camper van hiding rechargeable battery boxes that can power a whole set of rides. Well, I think at least say 4 each, so that's half the fairground done already. And I do have more, as I said already. I've got the lime one here for another camper van, and the even bigger caravan here. So I don't think either of those is going to pose a problem, since this one's definitely the smallest. So it might be that I use all 4 in the fairground for my power supply, but I kind of like the idea of having one on the road. So I think for now I'm going to put this back onto the streets of Brick Nottingham, so we do actually have some owned by the public. And I guess, well, I don't really need to do a vehicle of the week this week because I've got all of these that I'll be adding to the fairground. So I think collectively they definitely count. And you may have noticed this one's slightly faded, actually. I didn't mention that earlier. That's because I buy virtually all of my sets second hand. I don't go for spending even more just to get them new. I don't really have a problem with that once they're washed. And this one is a little faded, but I think that actually adds to it rather than takes away in this particular case, because not all caravans or whatever would be brand new. So to have this slight colour variation due to age, I think is actually probably a feature rather than having them all gleaming the same new white. So good. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I found it very pleasing and satisfying to do, I must say. The result is the proof of the pudding, and we've definitely got a good result, so I'm really happy. But do tell me what you think. Do tell me if you think that's a good idea, or maybe there's an idea that you have that I could do it with some other type of vehicle or something like that. And you know, where I have got some great big game with a lot of space in it, I can always conceal another battery box in there as well. But I think this is definitely a very fun alternative, and one that's great fun to kind of press on and off, that's easily reachable for my recharging. So I'm really happy. Right, well, I'll get complaints unless I show you them in action. So here we go. I've just plugged one ride into this one, and the other 2 into this one for now. It works pretty well if you ask me. And though these aren't in their final position by any means, I think you can see how easily they're going to blend in. Oh, that's worked out even better than I thought it might. It's great when you have one of these ideas, but it's a whole nother thing when you actually see it in the flesh, working well. And I think you must agree that works really well. Very nice. So that has answered your questions, I think. those of you who are interested on where the battery boxes were going to go, and I think it's a good solution. So I'll consider that issue nailed. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, there's a number of things we could do. One is the hotel, which will be over here in this very small space actually, but next to the airport. Another one was to do the stage 2 kind of redo of my train shed, which I think will make it about 2 or 3 times as good at least. I was going to do the cargo area for the trains, but it involves too much structural work, which is very similar to all of this, and I kind of want to break from that. So that is a good option as well. So let me know if you have a strong preference, and then we'll do a haul on Wednesday. But whatever we get up to, I'm sure it will be really good fun. So, see you!